Welcome back. Another episode of Cornhusker Connection. I'm Brandon Shanahan. We got Tyler Sprinkle here as always, and a special guest, Luke Doyle. Luke and I go back just as far as me and Brooke, if not longer. Third, fourth grade, we're talking here. So long time, exciting stuff. Super excited to have Luke on, mostly because I was so detached from Nebraska last year. I have no idea what the Big Ten really looks like. So his input will be very valuable here. But Luke, how's it going? Thanks for coming on.
It's going. Thanks for letting me join. Looking forward to it.
Well, perfect. Well, just to kind of get to know your Husker experience here a little bit. Like I said, Tyler and I jumped off the sinking ship after Northwestern last year, looking for a whole new team all of last year. Was that kind of your experience too, or were you staying steady on the ship? Or after that Northwestern game, how are you feeling about the Skurs?
I think I was a little pessimistic last year. The Northwestern game didn't really disappoint me much. I also didn't anticipate them being 1-11 with us being their one win. So I saw it as like, maybe we're all right. But I kind of hopped off the Frost train year two. Unfortunately, I know I've listened to your guys' podcast and I'm like, I agree. It was the right hire. Everything looked awesome from the outside looking in. I'm like, this is going to be great. But I was quicker on the I don't think so kind of train. So
yeah, last year we were over here for the Northwestern game.
Oh my gosh.
And
I was so excited.
I guess except for Luke, from what he's saying, like everybody else is stunned, heartbroken.
I was more pleasantly surprised at first.
Yeah.
And then
and I think in retrospect we all kind of felt that way at the time. Like, we showed some really good things. Obviously it didn't work the way that we thought it was going to go. So now thinking back, that was like a big red flag on the whole season.
When in doubt, trust Luke. What did you see in year two that kind of threw you off the train? Because I was looking up Fiesta Bowl tickets at halftime during that Northwestern game. I was on until the very last moment. I was like, oh, this is finally it. We finally did it. Hallelujah. We're finally getting over the mountaintop. What did you see that I missed? That so many people missed.
I think it's more just the objective data part of it. Like, we just weren't winning.
Yeah.
And which year was it, year 2 or 3 that we lost several games very close?
So that was year 3, I think. So he started in 2018, and that was a weird year because the first game Akron got rained out,
funky.
and then they lose to Colorado. I think in
Colorado.
Yeah. In Boulder, and then same kind of thing the next year they lose to Colorado, and then I think year 3 was COVID, so that was all sorts of funky. And I want to say year 4 was the greatest 3-9 team.
Yeah. So I guess it was just the lack of wins more than anything. I don't personally, I was never like, okay, yeah, he played for Nebraska. He won a championship. This is awesome. He did great at Oregon, even better at Central Florida. The hype was there, but we just didn't win.
Yeah, and not to beat a dead horse, but we all agree that's you make that hire 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't.
It made so much sense at the time.
You don't miss that guy because that's a guy that can potentially change your program around. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and we're moving on. And I love Matt Rule. I'm so bought into the Rule Aid.
We're back.
I'm watching everything.
Just as back as ever.
I am watching every interview. I'm watching every podcast that he's on. Like, everything that he says gives me goosebumps. And I hope that the players feel that way because he looks like the leader that we were missing.
Absolutely. And I'm so high on Matt Rule, and I've totally bought into what he did or what he's bringing to the table. But it wasn't always like that. I remember early on I was thinking, I don't really think Matt Rule is going to be the guy. Luke, was there during the process last year, was there anybody that you kind of had in mind that you thought that would be an exciting, good fit for the Nebraska?
Definitely. And Rule was not one of them. I'll be honest.
I agree.
It was Fickle.
Yep.
And looking
I
back,
love
the
Luke
fact
Fickell.
that Wisconsin got him and people were like, we couldn't get him, I think that's crazy. I think we definitely could have.
Yeah.
And looking back, I still would, no offense to Rule, I still would rather us have Fickell.
Yeah.
Mark Stoops was one that I think we could have got that I would have loved.
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
Yeah. Those were two that I thought about the most.
What'd you think about Leopold?
No.
No.
No,
No, you didn't want
I'm
him, or
not
you didn't
bought.
think we can get
No,
him?
I did not want. No.
Okay, gotcha.
We easily could have got. I didn't. No interest there for
Yeah.
me. 6-6 or 7-5 at Kansas is awesome for him, but I don't see why that.
The
is
appeal
that
for
impressive.
him to me was how fast it all happened.
True.
And how much excitement he brought to that program right away.
True. I think if you're going for a Kansas guy, though, that Kansas State, what is it, Klein?
Oh, yeah, Klein.
Way better option.
Big
Klein,
12 champ.
way better
Yeah,
option. North Dakota State, Kansas
Yeah.
State.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Winner.
Would much rather have had him. I preferred Rule to Leopold.
Yeah, like last year, Brandon and I were talking about it in our previous series of podcasts. We were definitely kind of bummed out at first.
Yeah.
But we quickly started changing our tones when we felt the impact that he had on Nebraska, like right away.
Which is good.
And the fact that he cared a lot about going to different places in Nebraska and seeing how the people in Nebraska live and what they like. And it means so much to have somebody that's not from Nebraska like Scott Frost. Like, I mean, I don't think he was from Nebraska?
Yeah.
But just, I don't know, he cared a lot
from
about
Nebraska or Kansas.
He cared a lot about people from Nebraska without being from Nebraska. And it was just, it means a lot, I think. And I think it goes a long way just caring about that to getting prospects, the great players out of Nebraska, because, yeah, maybe they're not 5-star recruits, but damn, there are some good players that want to play for Nebraska, and they're going to show you that they want to play.
Yeah, so Scott Frost from Wood River, Nebraska. So he born and bred.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, I had to talk myself into Matt Rule at first. One of the things that really kind of got me going is in those introductory press conferences, he was talking about, I didn't have to coach anywhere. I just made $35 million to get fired. I could absolutely stay in Charlotte. My kids are in school here. That would be a really easy fit here. I had offers from like other schools as well that I could have coached, but Nebraska felt like such the right place and just exactly what he was looking for. And, you know, like Luke there, I know Tyler and I basically did a whole episode where we were tracking Luke Fickell's plane, trying to see if he made any stops to Lincoln. But I think in the grand scheme of things, with some hindsight, I think Matt Rule is the perfect guy because, yeah, Luke Fickell, I think, is the best coach hired in that cycle. But I also thought Scott Frost was a good coach. It's so much more than just being a good coach.
Yep.
It's establishing that culture and rebuilding a team, which Matt Rule has a strangely odd resume of being able to do at Temple and at Baylor. And this job has got to be an easier rebuild than both of those. So I think maybe the ceiling's not as high with Luke Fickell, or not as high as if it would have been Luke Fickell, but I think the floor definitely gets raised pretty quickly.
Yeah, and his ability to just pump out NFL talent now, especially because he talks about it a lot, like getting to see Christian McCaffrey, getting to see Brian Burns, getting to see all those guys at the NFL level. Like, he knows now what elite NFL talent looks like. And I'm hoping that he's able to use that to find great players that might not be 4 or 5-star recruits, get them to Nebraska, show them that this is what the life is like if you just buy in. And I've been, like I said, I've been drinking the Roulade. I've been watching all the Nebraska, like Hard Knocks, if you will.
Oh boy, what do they call that? It's
the Look In.
Yeah.
And it's
a cute name.
It's electric. It really is electric to me. And I love watching that shit. I'm so bought in, and that makes me nervous. But I really do think that he's just the guy for the job, and it makes me excited.
And I think that the benefit to being so high on Scott Frost, even coming into last year and being so high on them is that I was so heartbroken and so disappointed that it really kind of leveled out my expectations for this year. And same thing goes for the Broncos. Like, it was just such a disaster. Like,
Gonna be a
objectively, I
disaster
think things are in
this
a better place. I
Well,
can see the improvements made, but objectively, I was like, I thought last year for both of those teams went way worse than I could have ever imagined. And so now it's like I very cautiously optimistic this year.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm more hesitant than you
Yeah.
guys.
And it kind of rubs me the wrong way because Luke's always been the guy that's like, I love Nebraska. Like, this is what it is, and like we're gonna do well. And then to hear him kind of be so pessimistic about it, and not in the wrong way because we
Jaded.
haven't shown anything. But Luke has always been my guy. I'd come to him and be like, "Oh, you hear this?" And he's like, "Yeah, like let's fucking go." Like, hell yeah. And now it's like, who is that or what's going on? And obviously Luke has a lot more things going on right now, but that was always my guy to go to. And now he's not there anymore, which hurts my heart, hurts my soul.
My gosh, yeah. If you lose Luke, you lose all of us at this point.
That's right.
I'm just a bandwagon, like I'm a little jaded. So that's why I'm more hesitant. But
Yeah.
You're right. I agree with all of right now, a lot of what we see is him speaking, right? Basically. And he's really good at it.
He says all the right things.
And
He
that's
really
part of
does.
the job.
Yeah, it really
that is part of the job. If Bo Pelini could do that part of the job, he'd still be the coach, but he couldn't.
That's a good point.
So it's part of the job, but you gotta.
RIP Bo
We'll
Pelini.
see. Yeah.
And now to peel back the onion a little bit further, you mentioned Bo Pelini, and I feel like that's where things really start to fell off. And I don't think that's a hot take, but I look at Wisconsin with Paul Chryst. The writing was on the wall. They weren't getting any better. They were a good team, but they thought, instead of waiting for the win and production to decrease substantially, let's try to build on this momentum and try to capture this coaching cycle while we can. And I thought Nebraska tried to do the same thing, except instead of hiring a 10-win coach to replace a 9-win coach, they hired a 6-win coach to replace a 9-win coach. When Mike Riley was hired, what did you think about that, and how quickly did things start to come together that wasn't going to work out?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember me and Tyler were on a bus going to Minnesota in high school. We were seniors in high school for like
for DECA, probably.
Yeah. It was for DECA. And I remember, who the heck is this? That was the reaction. Who the what? And then you look at, were they any good? No,
Nope.
Not really. They had like Jaquiz Rogers and his brother for like 2 years, like before that. That was obviously an overcorrection in terms of Bo Pelini being what he was.
The super bad guy and then getting the super nice guy. Yeah.
Do I think, am I as down on him as everyone else? Not necessarily. He had a season where they were 7-0. They had a favorable schedule, but at least he could win them. Yeah. Frost couldn't. Frost had favorable schedules and couldn't win them. They did. Now, that being said, his last year, if I remember right, was atrocious. They lost to Northern Illinois at home.
Real bad. Yeah.
Obviously not a long-term fix. No. It was kind of a transition. I don't really – that athletic director you guys have mentioned, that was Eichhorst, right?
Yeah.
No place being there.
And I wonder if it was more like, oh, shit, we got to find somebody.
Yeah.
And they kind of landed on
it. It was a transitional thing. And then he happened to be 7-0 in his second season for a little bit. Mm-hmm. So they kept him an extra year or whatever. But then Frost came along and that was that.
And the thing is that as bad as Mike Riley was, and it felt catastrophic at the time because I think he only missed a bowl game once or twice in his short tenure here. And then you get to Scott Frost and there's so much excitement and he had so much less success.
It was so much more 6 to start, right?
Insane.
Best 3-8 team in history.
Yeah. That narrative was frustrating because I think it's
it was only frustrating when you see the year after that.
Yeah, I think there is way less relevance to that than was made out. It just doesn't matter.
It is, but I remember that because I am exactly who you were talking about. I was like, this is we're so close. We're so close. And but I saw
Yeah.
us competing with these teams like Michigan
And
State
we
on the
were.
road,
Ohio State
also
on the
And
road.
we
Ohio
really were.
State.
And I think maybe he just lost himself, or lost the team. Like I don't know what happened, but it was atrocious. It was so bad. It
What
was
do you think
so
of
much
Adrian
worse.
Martinez?
I feel so bad. I feel
Yeah.
so bad for Adrian Martinez. I feel
Me
like he
too.
got sold a
Me
bag of goods coming to Nebraska. He was going to rebuild the program. Him and Scott Frost. We don't need Joe Burrow. We got Adrian Martinez.
And he tried. He
Ah,
He did.
on
His
back.
last year, he was clearly the best player on
Oh,
that
yeah.
team, in my opinion.
And
yeah.
And people hate him.
No question.
For
And I
what?
don't understand that.
No.
He had a broken jaw the whole season.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want from this guy?
And
Yeah.
he was out there doing it. I mean, he was trying. Like, give
Yeah.
me a break, you know.
Yeah, I loved Adrian Martinez.
Me
And
too.
I feel so bad. I'm happy that he eventually got to Kansas State and
Me
and
too.
got
Yeah,
some
they
success.
kind of honey dicked in there too, a little bit.
I-
I mean,
well-
I know he got hurt a
But
little
they
bit.
won the damn Big 12, didn't
Yeah,
He got a ring out of
it.
it.
they? Yeah.
Got to see what a bowl game was like.
Their
And
third
Will
string was
Howard
good.
was like,
Yeah, Will Howard did play out. I remember I was at the TCU Kansas State game, and that's when Adrian Martinez got hurt. And I remember being surrounded by Kansas State fans. It's like, oh no, Adrian Martinez is off the field. What are we gonna do?
yeah.
And
But
I'm like,
wait.
that's not the reaction that Lincoln would have
Yeah.
had. It would have been like, finally, let's get someone else in here.
And
But
for
no,
us,
I was
our
all in
backups
on Adrian
last
Martinez
year
the whole way.
Yeah, our backups last year were
Yeah.
like incompetent, right? I mean,
and then
our
they're like,
backup
"Oh, we're
last
gonna
year
transfer
was-
somewhere else." I'm like, "See you later, dude."
Yeah.
Tough.
But look, great stuff. I'm excited, Luke. I'm curious to see what your expectations are for this year. I think the common over under that I'm seeing is 6.5, making a
Oh,
bowl
okay.
game or 7 wins. So nothing outlandish, but also they haven't been to a bowl game in 5 or 6 years. So 6.5 wins. Do you think they get there? Do you think that they have some growing pains? How do you think it shapes out?
So when I look at it, what I see is 5-7. I think 6-6 is feasible for sure, and that would be an awesome goal, which is sad to say, but it is. But it's a starting point.
That's where we're at.
Over 6.5, I would not bet on that personally.
And Matt Rule is very open. He's like, "I'm good at 3-year rebuilds." He says, "I wish I was better. I'm not. Like at being faster." I think
3 is
that
fast.
6, yeah, it is. It
It's
really is.
crazy,
not that bad.
especially at Temple and Baylor right after
Yeah.
the Art Briles thing. Like
3
that's
is not
insane.
bad.
But for a fan base like Nebraska, it's never going to be fast enough. It will never be fast enough. I'm sure people will be calling for his job halfway through the season.
I mean, you can't take those people seriously. You know, I think that the counter to that is I think this fan base is so beaten down after the whole Scott Frost thing that like maybe after Mike Riley, if it took some time to get going, but I mean, you saw how patient they were with Scott Frost, and he didn't show any life for years.
Yeah.
So I think we're a lot more humbled as a fan base than we were 10 years ago.
I don't know. I think they have their pitchforks ready. I think anything goes wrong, they're ready to just cut ties because they know that Nebraska has money and the boosters to do it.
I was going to
But
say
then what?
the only counter to that is money, because these dudes are getting paid.
Yeah, and I don't think the fan base is ready to be the way that it should. Because college football is a living, breathing thing, and people don't realize that. They just expect like every Nebraska team, no matter what, to go out there and win 9 games, which is not feasible a lot of the time, especially your first year as a head coach at a program. Like you're trying to install a culture and you're trying to install anything that you can as a head coach. And if you're not winning at least 8 games, I feel like everybody's just ready to blow the whole thing up and just start again. Again, I don't agree with that. I certainly do not. Again, I'm drinking the Rule-Aid. I'm ready to ride or die with Matt Rule, but a lot of people don't think that way.
But then what? I mean,
Yeah. Again, I
Then
don't.
what?
I
think
then
the
what? I
only
have
other
no idea.
option is to pay less and downgrade, but
Yeah.
that's defeatist.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would make these people happy. These people sound crazy.
It won't make them happy. No,
Absolutely not.
no.
But also give them $50 million a year. I don't care. It's not my money.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, when it's coming from boosters.
I absolutely do
I
not.
get it.
Especially that new complex that they opened up. Like, they got money to spend. Like,
Yeah.
I don't give a damn. That's just nice, though. That is really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, the goal shouldn't, certainly shouldn't be to keep having to buy out coaches. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I have a question for you guys. So that thing last year where they paid out Scott Frost to get him out when they did, right? Why did they do that?
They should have waited.
They-
They should have waited 1 week.
they were, because the common narrative that I heard was that they would have saved millions and millions of dollars.
$7 million.
Yeah,
$7 million just
yeah,
waiting.
But there was no
6
benefit
weeks.
other than just getting him out of game early. That was it.
No,
Yeah.
I think that they were just so. There was like I think that there's
And I
also
think
probably fear that we're going to lose the
probably
sellout streak.
The boosters. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the boosters are probably like, we are so fucking done. If you don't get them out right now, then we're going to stop buying all these tickets to sell the games. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what it was.
And I've
Was
heard you
it-
guys talk about the sellout streak too, and that is legit. When you go,
Yeah,
it's full.
Yeah, and people just like screen grab like right before kickoff or when we're fucking losing 45-0.
Yeah.
In the
Like,
end
no,
of the
you go to
fourth
those
quarter,
games, they're
beginning of
full.
fourth quarter, like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
If you don't go to that stadium, you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, and like the sellout streak has nothing to do with how many tickets. It's how many people are in the stadium. Is it at capacity? Yes. All right, it's a sellout.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
Like, who cares whose credit card these tickets go on?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's and even so, it's like, okay, well, let's say 20,000 tickets are bought by boosters, which is an insane
Be
number.
crazy. Yeah.
That's still 65,000 people in the
Yeah,
stadium.
It's like one
Tell
of the
me
biggest
65,000
NFL stadiums. Yeah.
Yeah, like 65,000 people are still paying to watch this 4-8 Nebraska team.
and then do
Like,
it
that's so impressive.
year.
And
Oh yeah.
I mean, 65. So that's about what Kinnick is, the 7th biggest stadium in the Big Ten. 7th in the conference, not in the country. It gets a lot of credit, but I just want it to be clear. It's 7th in the conference. It's cute and it's good in the top half, but even minus 20,000 seats at Memorial Stadium. That's where we're at.
I heard that stadium's awful too. Just for the record.
I
haven't been there. Grant's been there. He said it was
I bet
terrible.
Brandon's been
Have
there.
you been there?
Yeah,
You've been there.
Yeah, I've been there once. I actually went for the Nebraska game, so it was a rivalry game, and it was an 11 a.m. game, so I think it's a different thing for a night game. But I also went to an Iowa State night game against Texas in Ames, and I don't want to get out of hand because I don't know how much of this is just drowned in negativity towards Iowa, but I pick Ames over Iowa City to
Oh,
watch a college football game.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been to a bunch of stadiums, right? I saw you.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Have
I'm
you been
getting there for
to Indiana or Northwestern?
None of the Big Ten schools outside of Iowa.
I know
you went to
Those are the other two I've been to.
You
Other
went to
than
Indiana?
Nebraska,
I could've
or
been.
Oh, yeah.
Indiana and Northwestern.
I feel like those can get kind of swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Were they legit?
Indiana was better than Northwestern, like stadium wise. Northwestern was
out.
better environment though,
Oh, really?
but they were nice. Yeah, I liked them. Yeah.
So exciting stuff for Nebraska here, but we'll kind of move on. Got college football coming this week.
finally.
Let's go.
I'm so
Finally.
excited. And I think it's so perfect that Nebraska's first game is on a Thursday. I was like, all right, well, we get this one out of the way and then don't have to worry about how heartbreaking it is on Saturday.
3 weekday games this year, huh?
Oh, my gosh. All right, so we'll kind of go through week by week, pick our winners for these games, and then we have a special surprise that we'll have Luke do at the end here. But first game, probably the number one game of this of the week, and a big one towards the playoff rankings. LSU and Florida State. What do you think, Luke? Can Florida State do it 2 years in a row?
Be careful.
So this is just head to head.
Yep,
They played last year, did they?
they did.
And
Yeah,
Florida State won?
went on like a fluky last
bullshit.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Bullshit.
when we didn't really realize either of them were that good,
Yeah.
and it was that was nuts. And no, I think LSU smacks them.
I think so too.
And they're playing
already
that
know
where?
my answer.
Orlando.
You already know my answer, Brandon. Don't even
Yeah.
ask me.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. LSU across the board. I think LSU is going to be one of the best teams in the country. Best team in the SEC West probably. But Yeah, I don't think they have much
I'm
issues.
on Twitter actively saying that that's a dumpster state. So
Yeah,
Florida.
I don't
Yeah.
think that you can walk that back quite yet.
I will go ahead and place the TNT myself to break them off in the United States and get them the fuck out of here.
Who's Florida State's coach right now?
Oh boy,
Somebody
what's his
stupid,
name?
Probably.
Durant. Is it like a newer guy? I don't even know.
Oh yeah,
LSU's
Norvell?
Kelly.
Yeah,
Okay,
Chip
yeah,
Kelly.
yeah,
Oh, not
Kelly.
Chip Kelly.
No,
Brian
Brian
Kelly's
Kelly.
there.
Yeah.
He's weird, but he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, he's like,
Yeah, he's weird. Faked an accent.
I
Yeah.
want to in the boggy.
Absolutely. You know, I appreciate the dedication. It's like I'm really diving.
He's all in.
Like I saw how much they loved Coach Ed Orgeron. They couldn't understand him. Let me
Yeah.
try to dip into that a little bit. North Carolina, South Carolina. Tyler's favorite quarterback outside of Florida, Spencer Rattler,
sir.
leading the way for the
Yep.
Gamecocks.
Ugly piece
Drake
of
May,
shit.
Heisman favorites. Outstanding stuff from him. Also on a neutral field. Who do you guys like?
Do you want to go first? Okay, so I find this difficult because I like North Carolina. Love Drake May. Think he's the Heisman favorite. But I'm going South Carolina head to head.
That's tough.
And I think Rattler is
Ugly,
chronically
yeah.
underrated now. I think he's gotten pretty good. And I think overall, yeah, I'm going to take them.
I would die for Drake May.
I get it. I hope they win.
So, and I also think Mac Brown's so much better of a coach.
For sure.
They're going to, it doesn't matter, close game, blowout, they're going to win that game. It doesn't matter.
And I think the line is 2.5.
It's
yeah.
Oh, is it
pretty
close?
tight.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they playing that at?
Yeah, where is that? Charlotte or something?
Yeah,
so
something
it's
like
basically
that.
a home game for South Carolina.
Well,
I guess
I
they're
mean,
both
yeah.
or they're both
I
in
don't
Carolina.
know.
Hey,
Yeah.
hand up. That's on me. Didn't realize.
It's in Carolina.
Yeah.
Somewhere along those lines. But yeah, I love Drake May. I think North Carolina is sneaky going to be in the ACC championship game, and the chips fall their way, could be a playoff team. And with that said, man. So I went through conference by conference and picked all these games. And in that game, I had South Carolina. I'm going to stick with that. I got to stay consistent across the board.
Ooh,
But
I got
another
to pick with you on your conference picks.
So I might
what
have
do
to
you
go
got?
back and change my Florida State pick just so I can make sure LSU wins.
There you go.
I don't, the curse of everybody picks one team and the other team obviously wins.
There
I
you
might have
go.
to go
Too
back
late.
and just bite the bullet.
Too late.
What's your
Next
bone to
one.
pick?
Oh, USC. You think they lose their last 3 games all in a row?
Yeah. Not
You're
because
not-
I don't think that they're not the best team in the conference, but they have such a brutal schedule. Just
They do.
from a logistics standpoint, like whoever put that schedule together didn't have their best interest. So they go
Yeah.
to Notre Dame. I think this is like week 5 playing in a row. Then they
I'm not
play
sure
Utah
Notre
the
Dame
very
will.
next week. And then they play Cal. And then they play
Cal stinks.
Cal does stink. So that one,
Utah's very good.
Utah's
Cal
very
stinks.
good.
Notre Dame.
I bet that the Pac-12 commissioner is like, oh yeah, you want to leave?
You know what? You're not wrong there.
But
Like, how about
but
9
you
straight
also
games?
said they were tied for first, yet they had 3 losses. You put tied first, and then you had Utah with 1 loss tied first. Is that because of how their divisions work? I was confused.
No, so I think I just botched that one.
Oh,
I've had a couple of
so you have Utah winning it. Then.
Yeah.
Utah and Washington in the Pac-12 title game.
Oh, Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah, I said Arizona, Mississippi State went 4-4 and 0-8 in the conference.
I
and
saw.
they let me hear about that.
Yeah, they did.
But
Yeah, they did.
it's just so hard for me to look at USC's schedule and just seeing how it's structured and shapes up. And I'm like, UCLA, I picked them losing against UCLA. That's a stretch, I admit. But at that point, you're already out of the Pac-12 race.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is already going to be the number 1 pick
That's
next year.
true. It's a momentum thing.
USC's going or UCLA is going to want that game way more.
Yeah. Who are
So
the other 2? Oregon and Washington?
Oregon and Washington. So I think that they finally get past Utah. I also just think it's so unlikely that you beat Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams 3 times in 12 months.
Yeah,
They-
they beat them both times last year.
Yeah, so they're built to do it, but it's just like
Yeah, Utah's
I-
a little different. I don't know. Cam Rising's
Yeah.
pretty dang good.
I mean, he's fucking 47, so he should be good.
Yeah, well, he gets hurt like every day too.
yeah. I mean, nobody's better at getting hurt in the Rose Bowl than Cam Rising.
Yeah. That won me my bowl pool last year. Was it them that played Penn State?
Yeah, them in Penn
Yeah,
State.
I
in the
had
Rose
Penn
Bowl.
State.
He was
Penn State
there.
railed.
It was,
them. Oh,
yeah,
you
it was
went?
close for
Yeah, he was
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Penn
That was-
State pulled away though, I think.
Yeah, well, after Cam Rising got hurt,
Well, yeah.
that's
did.
when the ties started to go. But yeah, I think they won by 2 touchdowns or so.
Okay.
But yeah, easy money for Penn State folk. Up next, the Golden Buffaloes. Coach
Oh, this one's
Prime's
easy.
debut, TCU defending national runners-up.
We can call it that, I guess.
Yeah,
Defending something.
Yeah.
defending Fiesta Bowl champions, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this one's too hard. I do
This
think
TCU.
TCU takes a step back. Colorado takes a step up, but I still think that the
Mhm.
gap's pretty big there.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Luke here. TCU all the way. I don't really believe in Shadur, so
No. Duggan's a loss though, man. He
yeah, he really is.
talk about dog.
Yeah,
Dog,
he
yeah.
does. He does have that damn
Well,
dog.
And you also got to remember he was QB2 going into last year. Chandler
Yeah.
Morris was QB1 in the Colorado game. He gets hurt, and then they just have a Heisman finalist caliber quarterback just sitting on their bench. Like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
guess we'll stick with this guy.
And he was coming off like an 8-hour like surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a heart deal.
yeah,
which
he's been
my
through it.
medical side. I'm like, dang, that's impressive. Good for him.
Up next, West Virginia defending Rose Bowl champion Penn State Nittany Lions. I'm real high on Penn State. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, they're one of my top teams. Penn State's gonna pull that out.
I
I think
think
Penn
so,
State has a really solid shot to win the Big Ten this year.
Who's home?
Penn State.
All right, I'll take Penn State. Disagree that they have a shot to win the Big Ten, and disagree that they're top 10 in general. But
Well, that's
agree
cool.
that they'll
Well, I think
be West Virginia.
I want them to win the Big Ten so bad because that means that Matt Rule isn't going to leave anytime soon.
What's the
Because
You think he'll go to Penn State
if
if that job
what's
comes
his
open?
name? Yeah,
Yeah, James
Franklin.
Franklin.
yeah. If he loses, like if he doesn't hit the big games like Urban Meyer didn't, or not Urban Meyer, but Jim Harbaugh didn't. Like they were talking about firing his ass. Like I think that that's the only job that Matt Rule would take over maybe an NFL job. So I want them to be good as long as they can to keep Matt Rule where he is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I do, and one of the reasons I thought this coaching hire was so important was because I don't want Nebraska to ever become a leapfrog job
Yeah.
where they have success in Nebraska and then they go get the actual good job.
Yep.
And I
that
feel
would
like,
suck.
yeah, I feel like we're one or two bad coaching hires away from getting to that point.
I've never
Being
thought
in the Big Ten helps, but and with Matt Rule, I never
Ten
had the thought, but yeah, if his alma mater came calling,
It's a Big
that
Ten
might be-
beast.
that's
yeah,
his
that
alma
might be-
mater.
yeah, he
Did
played
not
there.
know
Penn
that.
State.
I see why you're saying it now because originally I'm like,
Yeah,
Penn
So-
State's put up with some, like James Franklin's been up and down, obviously up lately.
Yeah.
I definitely
I-
think that
I
they're
do
more of
think
a
that-
patient fan base than like Michigan
Yeah.
or Ohio State.
They
I don't
are
think they're
because
that
of history.
I
because
do
of-
think
yeah.
that he's put together like really good teams. I
Well,
really
yeah.
do.
Yeah,
They
last
just
year he was
kind of falter
undefeated against teams that
sometimes.
didn't
Yeah.
make the playoff. Like I feel like that's a pretty good bar to hit. Like just
How
don't
do you even
lose
get
to
that
anybody who doesn't make the playoff.
He's been there for a long time though, right? Like
right
Um,
after that.
Yeah, Bill
Scandal.
O'Brien. Well,
Yeah.
so Bill O'Brien
Oh.
took over after the scandal, and then he
Yeah.
went to the Texans. And then James Franklin came from Vanderbilt. after.
Vanderbilt.
got to be the
Yeah.
best thing that's
And
ever
again.
happened to the Penn State fan base, to be honest, because Bill O'Brien is a fucking moron. Excuse me.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well. Oh gosh, what a disaster that became. He still made the playoffs in Houston. Like it doesn't seem like he was that bad of a football coach, but he got his dirty little hands on roster management and
Yeah.
destroyed it all.
Can we time out?
Not the only one in Houston
I
that
gotta-
can't keep his
I
hands
gotta
to himself.
Take a piss so bad.
Up next, another great matchup, or it was a great matchup last year.
It was. Florida won last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
they
so.
did, right? Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, because it was in Gainesville, and I thought it meant that Florida was going to be really good. That didn't turn out very
Yeah.
well. Now they go to Utah. Cam Rising's back. They lose Anthony Richardson. Um, they get Graham Mertz, an actual quarterback, to run their offense, which will probably be a net win for them. I still think Utah runs away with this one pretty handedly.
Agreed. They're home, so
Yeah.
I was going to ask that, but yeah,
I'm
I'll take Utah.
I'm actually going to disagree.
Yeah?
I think
You're going to jump on the Florida bandwagon?
I am.
know how
I
much you
really
love
am.
Florida.
Just this game in particular, it seems like they don't have it. Utah in particular, they don't
What's
have
it?
it.
Like the top 10 defense? 'Cause
Just
a returning
you
experienced
can't
quarterback?
quantify it. All right, they just don't
An experienced
have it.
coach.
Well, you can quantify like defensive talent and experience at
Sure.
quarterback. So yeah, I
But,
guess if
I
you want to
mean,
go on
as
bias.
you pointed out earlier, Cam Rising is always hurt. He's probably going to get hurt because he's going to get sacked a little too hard. So I'm going with Florida in this game.
All right.
So you know what that means.
That's just like a hedge. Like,
Utah is certainly going to win.
yeah, it seems like you're kind of hedging. Like either
Yeah, I
Florida
learned-
loses and you're happy, or
Yeah.
you're right and
I
Florida wins.
learned.
I love the Florida
earlier. I learned a little earlier that you got to go with the Florida teams if everybody else is taking the other team.
I'll tell you what. So some of the best bets I've ever cashed were betting Iowa money line against Nebraska. I was like, I would much rather lose this $300 than to be able to cash it in. But
Man, last year was fun. I was driving
that
home
was
from
great.
I went to my first ever NFL game, and it was the Thanksgiving
Oh yeah.
Vikings and Patriots.
Oh, let's
I
go.
was driving home the next day listening on the radio to Iowa and Nebraska, just giggling.
Oh,
Giggling. 88 yards, Trey Palmer, and then like another like 40-yarder. I was just giggling. I'm like, wow.
dude was doing whatever
And-
he wanted.
Yeah. And they almost blew it, but they didn't. So
Well, it kind of
that's awesome.
it kind of went along to the same script of the last few years, where Iowa would jump out to a big lead, Nebraska would cut it back, and then would
Yeah.
fuck it up at the end. And I was
Yeah.
like, I was so confident because like I've seen this movie before. It's just they've switched places.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to Utah as well, Luke?
Yep. Utah.
All right, go Utes. Tennessee and Virginia, neutral field. I think they play in Nashville for some reason, so more closer to Knoxville than
This
Virginia,
has
sure.
to be the most unanimous pick in this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think
Virginia is going to be buns.
Yes, I was going to say, I think they're going to be abysmal from what I've heard.
They're going to be fucking buns.
Yeah.
Tennessee is going to run away with this game. It's going to be 62-0 at halftime.
Yeah. See, I don't even think Tennessee will be anything near what they were.
Oh,
I could see them being 7-5, 8-4,
They're
but
gonna
I
be
think
incredible.
this is an easy pick though. I
Yeah.
think they're favored by like 4 touchdowns.
I don't see any pathway for Virginia to even make a bowl game. So that kind of tells you where they're at.
Yeah.
And if that one's not the easiest one, I think this one might be. Maybe I'm eyeing another one that might be pretty easy as well. Boise State and Washington. I like the dogs.
Washington's an easy pick,
You think so?
but I do think Boise State is. I don't think it's near as easy as the last one. I think Boise State's they're around,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, Washington for me.
And I'm going with Boise.
Are you really?
I am. I really am. I think
All right.
that the old Bronx got something going. They're always so solid. And I think that early on in the season, they're going to be much more tightened up than Washington will be. So I think they steal one from Washington early in the season.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, I love
Wow.
Penix.
I do
I like
too.
them at Indiana, man. Do you
Oh.
ever see that replay of that touchdown? They
Against
won.
Ohio State.
Was that who it was? They beat
Yeah.
Ohio State.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you couldn't get a closer. They had to leave it, as it was called on the field, because he reached out and
Oh, yeah.
barely nicked the pylon. Maybe it was a 2-point conversion or a touchdown in like overtime.
It was something
Wow.
that would have won the game.
It won the game, and it was was it close? Yeah, I like that guy though. He's good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So yeah, this is great. I figured we'd all kind of come out of this pretty unscathed. But I'm glad Tyler's picking some bold moves.
That's what I'm here for. Just outrageous takes.
Outstanding stuff.
Clip me and put me on TikTok.
What you got, Brandon? Houston, San Antonio?
Yeah. So I think I like UTSA. I don't think Houston's going to be very good. I mean, I guess they get the Power 5 label this year, but they haven't been they haven't been very good in the AAC. So and UTSA, they've had a couple of double-digit win seasons the last couple of years. So, and in fact, if it wasn't for Tulane getting that late season run, then UTSA would have been in the Cotton Bowl against USC. But yeah, I like me a good road runner.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 words for me, and it's meat.
Let's fucking go.
I agree. I certainly agree.
Who they played Troy in the bowl game last year, and I think Troy got them. Or no, they played San Diego State. Or was it Troy? They lost, whoever it was against, but it was really fun to watch because those teams are low, mid-major low teams. But man, they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
So this one should be
big on
the board.
I do think Indiana's going to be better than they were last year. Yeah. I don't know if the win total will show up for it, but I mean, it's not going to show up here.
Yeah, no.
I agree.
Then Nebraska and Minnesota, the big one. So I go back and forth on this one quite a bit because at first I'm like, well, we've been so close these last couple of years. If Matt Rule can just tighten the loose bolts a little bit, I think we could pull it off.
Brandon.
I have a typo. Oh yeah. Yeah, UTSA can only get one win.
UTSA on the brain, bro.
I don't like them that much.
Dialed in.
I heard meep and ran with it. Meep.
But it goes back and forth because then I'm like, then I see Xavier Betts isn't going to be on the team anymore. And I'm like, well, wide receiver room's getting thinner by the day. So then I like Minnesota more. And then I remember that they're losing their all-time leading rusher in Muhammad Ibrahim and their second all-time leading passer in Tanner Morgan. So now I'm back on Nebraska. I'm like, well, Nebraska's at least rebuilding everything. So everything's new there. I feel like it's tough to kind of keep that status quo with Minnesota. So I'm going to go with Nebraska. Now, I'd also like to preference, I would have picked Nebraska over Minnesota the last 8 years, and I don't think I've been right once. So there is a sense of homerism there that I'm owning up to. But I think Nebraska gets off to the big win here.
Did Ibrahim, is he in the NFL?
He might be on a team, but I don't think he's anything like that.
Who?
Ibrahim.
Muhammad. Yeah, Ibrahim.
So I think he got picked up, but I think he got cut already.
Yeah, he did for the Lions. That's right. I do remember that story because he's had like almost 600 rushing attempts before he even left college. And then he got hurt with the Lions, and I think they just cut him.
Tyler, what do you think? Start off 1-0 in the Matt Rule era?
I do. I think we do. I mean, I'm so bought in, and this is so stupid, but I'm so bought in. I really am. I'm so hopeful and so optimistic about this change. I think PJ Fleck is kind of a fraud with his coaching style.
Agree.
Row the boat, piss off guy. So I just want to grab him by his bald little head and just shake him a little bit. I think Nebraska wins this one in a real close battle Thursday night.
I do picture, I have a vision in my head of you shaking a baby, thinking that it's PJ Fleck out of exhaustion.
Which one of you is PJ Fleck?
Come here. I'm pretty sure he led a team before Minnesota to be undefeated. You know what team that was?
I do not.
Brandon does.
No, what team was it?
I think it was Western Michigan. I think they went 12-0.
No shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And then they lost in a bowl game.
Well, that stinks.
I know that's where he came from, and
So
I know they
can't-
went 12-0. I
So
think
I know
it was
that he can't win the big games. So this one's
Win the big games.
You'll have to fact check me on that, but I think. Yeah. But I agree, he's a fraud.
Is he a big enough fraud to lose against Nebraska
I'm
week
going
one?
to say I feel very bad about what Luke's going to say, and I'm just going to look away.
Yeah, so I'm going to go. Do you want to score?
So, yeah. What's the
All
score here?
So 31-20, Nebraska
No shit.
is what I got.
Wow.
Double-digit win on the road, week 1.
Let's get it done.
Let's fucking
Listen,
go.
I've been watching all the Jeff Sims highlights before he got to Nebraska.
Yeah.
God, I let him bang my wife.
What an odd thing to say.
Outstanding. Outstanding
Sophia, I
stuff.
hope you're not listening to this, but
20 point. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think that you were gonna lead us down that road.
yeah,
I
I didn't
It was a
either.
good diversion.
I was nervous. I really was.
I mean, if we got Luke Doyle back, then we're actually back. I mean, this is outstanding.
What have I done?
Yeah, he's too damn smart to think any other way.
So now, is it more so that you think Nebraska is going to take a step up in year 1 with Matt Rule, or is it just because PJ Fleck is a fraud?
I think it's a step up mainly because there wasn't much. You couldn't really go down that much.
So
Let's be honest. You couldn't.
I want all of our listeners to know Luke and I have been talking all day. Okay. I've been talking about, all the look-ins for Nebraska, all the podcasts that I've listened to with Matt Rule on it. He had no idea about them. He still really doesn't, except for my word of mouth. So this is a very educated but also uneducated decision. Like, he's not listening to the Rule-Aid shit. He's
just
all
buying
in
the
because
propaganda that you're feeding him.
No,
He
I
thinks
got an
Minnesota
idea
stinks.
of the personnel, right?
Yeah.
So I know the the
Oh,
personnel
now we're
pretty
talking
well.
football. Okay.
But you reminded me that Tanner Morgan's gone and Ibrahim is gone. Ibrahim has eaten Nebraska
alive. Yeah.
And
They're probably
unless if they have some guy that's
Yeah.
like him that they bring up on Thursday, well, all right.
They're still going to rush for 150 yards. I do believe that.
Yeah, but I mean, he was doing like 180 on his own average probably for the last couple of years.
I agree. I certainly understand what you're saying.
So, yeah, I think it's a step down for Minnesota. Step up for us, mainly because I don't think there's much room to go down. And if we did, that would be concerning because, I mean, our personnel is not that much different.
This Minnesota team should not be that good to beat us. I agree with Luke.
And we got a lot of returners,
Yeah, we have a lot of juniors and seniors on the team. So them alone, especially on the defense, they played together enough to be able to put together a great defensive showing, I think.
And I think Anthony Grant being the third string running back is a good sign. Because for one, is he actually going to be a third string running back? Probably
because
not,
he's
right.
Good.
Let's be honest. He's going to. I think that's just to motivate him to stop fumbling. Gabe Irvin, though, when he played for like 4 games,
he's a beast.
He's good.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
Holy
So I think Ramir Johnson is more like, look out. He might not quite be in the mix like they make it out.
Yeah, and it could be all like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing. Like, you're not preparing for him, but you get him. I think that it's going to be a really hard fought game. I think it's going to be a lot on the ground. But I think it's going to be more like a 17-24 game. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real ugly kind of game. I think that's the kind of game that Nebraska would want to play. I would also just say real quick by Anthony Grant, after having been force-fed Melvin Gordon the last few years, fumbling is a real issue.
It's significant.
And if shit in
I like that he's taking it so seriously. Don't get me wrong, but he was a highlight on that team last year.
And no longer having any wide receivers on the team is going to be tough for the Broncos. But
what do you think about Nebraska's tight end room?
I'm hearing good things. Rumor is they're the next tight end.
It all depends on.
I'm the one starting that rumor.
How many touchdowns do you think Fedoni gets this year?
I think he probably gets 5.
I feel that's a good target. And I don't know if it's Fedoni.
I think he gets 0.
Really?
I don't buy it. There's so much hype. He's been hurt, whatever. Hasn't played a single snap, has he?
There he is.
No.
There he is. There's the Luke guy.
Hey, he's back. He so is it skeptical about Fedoni particularly or just the tight end position?
So Fedoni particularly, for sure. And then Eric Gilbert. So I didn't know until Tyler filled me in. Is he not? He doesn't have a waiver. He
No,
can't play
still
right away.
not, right? Like they haven't given him his
I think they're
waiver
still
yet.
waiting on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Which
I
is
would have
fucking
more
insane.
enthusiasm
They
about
should-
him.
They should be able to make a decision before
Yeah, just tell him no.
a week
hard can it
before.
be?
Like, what the hell?
Just tell him no. They're gonna probably tell him no. But
Just fucking stupid.
and who's next? There's another.
Yeah, who was
The one who's actually gonna
second,
be
I
the
guess second
producer.
on the depth chart? Are you kidding me? Is it Applegate?
We'll see if
don't know.
Phil Steele has any insight.
Let me look at the roster.
I hope I'm wrong though. I hope Fedonius all
You know, I think more than anything for me, my optimism with the tight end room in general is just that I think that's who they're going to rely on. I think it's going to be a run first option, and I think that they're going to rely heavily on play action pass and trying to get the ball to the tight end, especially with kind of not a high ceiling wide receiver room, because you don't have Trey Palmer running down the field by himself anymore,
Right.
so you can't just chuck it up to him. So I think you're just going to have to get the tight end more involved in general. So whether or not, you know, it's because Thomas Fedoni is the next Travis Kelce or not, I don't know. We'll see. Any optimism I have towards him is clearly projection. And
yeah, it's from. I mean, his high school stuff was extremely good. So
that would be the optimism there. But I think 5-6 touchdowns out of the tight end room would.
Oh, it's
would
probably
be
John
fine.
Goodwin.
that'd be great.
John Goodwin's probably the second tight end if he doesn't
Okay.
play.
And then the top receiver is who? Kemp.
Billy Kemp is probably going to be up there. Marcus
Washington.
Washington's probably going to be up
He was
there.
good.
I mean, you might see Malachi a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on how much they want to.
That's
work
exciting.
him in.
Because he decommitted and recommitted.
Yeah.
That was a good thing that Rule did too, like getting a guy to recommit.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And and I think the big visit he took was to Boulder to go see Coach Prime was up, and then the fact that he was like, you know, I'm actually gonna go back there.
Yeah,
I think
that's the Ferrari or Lamborghini wasn't
probably going to be up there too.
Yeah,
I
think it'll be fine.
It really is going to be interesting to see how the young wide receivers develop in our system week by week, because it's going to be a week by week thing. I really do believe that.
For sure. Well, perfect. Real quick, Luke, before we send you off, who's going to win the Big Ten? Who's going to Indianapolis?
Not just the Big Ten, but the Natty. Ohio State.
Oh,
wow.
They weren't.
It's a bold move.
I don't even think they were in my top 10.
Ohio State.
Were they? Brandon, I don't know. I don't remember.
I think I can't imagine we would have let you not have it in there. Do you think they're going to take a step up, or do you think it's because Michigan takes a step down?
No, I think
they got to get through Michigan still, or do you think they don't need to beat Michigan?
No, I think they will. They're home this year, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, I think it's just a straight battle. Like, I don't think either of them takes a step down. I think Michigan will be awesome. I think Ohio State will be awesome, and I think they'll just battle it out.
And like I was talking with you about it, like the way that they're running their quarterback room right now is kind of concerning. Like the
Ohio State, that's the question. But they have probably the best player in football, college football, at receiver.
Oh
yeah. Sneaky Heisman pick.
Yeah,
but who's going to be there to throw in the football is the thing.
Yeah, and that's important. But I have a hard time believing that it'll be a big problem for them.
So
I don't even think McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is overrated.
I agree with you.
I think he's solid.
Yeah,
but I think Ohio State could easily land someone, or whoever ends up their starter will be as good as him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard an Alabama podcast kind of talking about, because they're kind of in the same boat as Ohio State. So it is a bit biased here, but they kind of talk about how, well, if they didn't have a lot of good quarterbacks that could competently play in their offense and play up to standards, then they would have already announced a guy. Mm-hmm. Like if you have somebody like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, you don't entertain another quarterback.
Or
so the fact that there's so many ideally talented quarterbacks in that room,
or they're both
big caveat,
insane.
Yeah. So I don't know. So
I think it's more of a Michigan thing. Where like, they have a couple solid guys.
Cade McNamara.
Yeah, where whoever will be as good as him, and then just the team around him.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. Who makes it out of the West?
I'm trying to think. So it's who's on? It's Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue. Is Wisconsin in the West?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll go Wisconsin.
I think it's good. Safe
Yeah.
pick.
It's
I
a
mean,
safe
I know
pick.
Brooke is really high on Mordecai. I don't know if I'm that high on him. Coming to a different offense, running a different scheme, running a different conference, because the conferences are so much different. They really are. So that'll be very interesting. I don't think he's going to throw for, what did he throw last year? Like 3,500 yards. Like he threw for a lot last year. I don't think he's going to have that same success as he did at SMU.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a different ball game. But I didn't expect this coming out. I think I had Illinois coming out just because
I would put
their
you'd be
schedule
between
plays
them
out
two.
pretty well. They don't get
Mhm.
Ohio State or Michigan out of the East. They play Iowa at home. So it seems like it kind of lines up for them. Also, they added Wisconsin defensive coordinator Jim Leonard to their staff,
Ooh.
Yeah.
which is a huge win. He won't be there for long, but
And they just about did it last year, right? Who
yeah,
did
they're
end up?
knocking on the
Purdue?
doorstep. It ended up being Purdue. Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
it was going to be Iowa, but
And
it was gonna be
Illinois was
Iowa.
probably better than Purdue.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a whole.
Yeah, as a unit, yeah. I agree.
Which is impressive. Good for them.
so that's why I had. It could really be. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Iowa, Wisconsin, or Minnesota. Not Minnesota. Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Those are the three teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, perfect.
Who's your group of 5 team? Who is it this year?
Group of 5. I mean, it's really hard to Tulane. It's hard to say anybody other than Tulane, because also their path gets so much easier because you lose Cincinnati and UCF in that conference, so you don't even have to deal with them anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know enough about the group of 5 to really put anyone else out there.
Yeah.
SMU seems to be getting some hype, but I also live in Dallas, so maybe that might be a little bit localized.
They are getting a lot of hype. And I feel like that's not uncommon. I feel like they often get a lot of hype and don't live up to it.
I do think it's pretty funny that they're begging the ACC to join. Like, we don't even need to get any revenue for the next 7 years.
Yeah.
Please just let us play.
Cal,
The ACC is still
Stanford,
like, no
Washington
thank
They
you.
State,
want it
SMU,
bad.
yeah.
No thank you. We want Cal, Berkeley, and Oregon State instead. Outstanding stuff. Well, perfect. Any other final thoughts before week 1, fellas?
That's all I got.
Oh.
Go Big Red. Let's go.
Go Big Red.